Hello, this is Lupin Yudron from the Happy Garden of Practitioners in Oakland, California. Welcome. Today's topic is green Tara, ever beloved green Tara. And I imagine you might have come here for some of the reasons, perhaps you came here for some of the reasons that I originally fell in love with Tara. I don't know, before I was a Buddhist, 35 years ago, maybe. Wow. I remember that back then I was just very uncomfortable with patriarchal religions. Have any of you felt that way? And it's okay with me that men are involved with religions and there's male religious leaders and deities and so forth, but underrepresented were the female. So Tara grabbed me from the wall of a bookstore in Northampton, Massachusetts. I bought a poster of green Tara, Nepali style, and put it up in my room. Well, my goodness, it's been a long journey since then. I didn't know anything about Tara really, but I was at the time, for probably 10 years previous to that, I was reading books about goddess imagery and in the world religions. So there were people, I don't know if it'd be called cultural appropriation now, or people would still love it the way we did. You can tell me, maybe you have an opinion. But people like Merlin Stone and others were pulling together books filled with all the goddesses, using that term, from all over the world. And they'd make nice illustrations of them, and they'd tell the story of the goddess, taken out of its milieu, so that the meaning of Tara to some degree was lost at being lumped in with all world religions, but in some way maybe not. So do you guys love Tara? Do you have a relationship with Tara? So then years later I ended up I ran a little Dharma center in a garage, one-car garage, long though, underneath a one-bedroom apartment that I had in East Oakland. And it was amazing the things we did there. We had Lama Pema Dorje Rinpoche taught, Lama Yeshe Wangmo taught, and among them, Lama I didn't know very well, unfortunately, Lama Tsering Wangdu. No, not Lama Tsering Wangdu. I'm sorry, Lama Wangdor. We always do this. Lama Wangdor from Tsopema. And Tsopema is one of the holy places of Guru Rinpoche in northern India. Originally, of course, he was from Tibet, I believe. And he, at that time, was going around. He was always fundraising to take care of the wonderful nuns who were doing long-term retreat or living in kind of alcoves up above Guru Rinpoche's cave at Tsopema, way up high. And so he would go to the United States. You can see Lama Lena's still around. She used to translate for him. And he would go to anybody's house who invited him, basically, if they had time, and give a teaching. And it'd always be accompanied by a empowerment. So in my little, all of a sudden, it seemed like, in my little, dolled up garage, this wonderful Lama came and gave a Tara empowerment and taught about Tara. And what he told a story about himself. And this is I think it pertains to our topic a lot. Rinpoche said that he was going along on narrow, you've seen pictures of those narrow mountainside roads in the Himalayas, maybe, one car width or or maybe less, maybe just enough for a horse and a trailer, whatever they call it, cart, and or alongside, like the mountains going up like that, and then there's this little jig for a road, and then it drops off way down hundreds of feet into a ravine. So he was on a cart on the back of being pulled, and and the cart was being pulled by a driver on a horse, and I think he got off for a particularly narrow part. I may not remember. Lina may have to correct me, but I think he got off during a especially dangerous part, and then during that especially dangerous part, suddenly the cart, horse, and driver went over the side of the ravine. And in that moment, there's that slow motion moment, I'm sure was shared in the mind of him watching this scene, like we do when you're going to be in a car wreck. You're on ice and you're drifting quickly towards a dangerous obstacle, and as time seems to slow down, in that moment, instead of just like witnessing the disaster, automatically, he shouted out, "Arya Tara!" the Bodhisattva Tara, for her help. Before it hit the ground, the driver, he could see still in the air, and he shouted this. And then there was a horrible crashing sound, and he, perhaps there were others there too, I don't remember, went to the lip of this and with great trepidation looked over the side. And there was the driver standing alive, hundreds of feet below, waving that he was okay. I don't remember whether the horse was okay too. I think maybe it was. Isn't that amazing? So this is the way, from the earthy point of view of the Tibetan people. Arya Tara is always available to call on when you're scared, when disaster strikes. And she always, let's look at a picture of Tara. I'm going to bring her in a little smaller, maybe. Oh, can I make her smaller? Yeah, let me bring her in. Whoopsie, lost her. Trying to bring the side in, because you have to see her feet here. So you see that foot going forward? See that one foot forward? That's because she's ready, the green aspect of Tara, she's ready to jump up and help in whatever situation instantly, crying out to her like Lama Wangdo did that day. She will help. So that's how the people in Tibet, everybody thinks that way. And in fact, it's said that actually all the Tibetan women are Tara, and all the men are Chenresik, the Bodhisattva of compassion. So Lori's chimed in below in the comment section and said, yes, she does feel a connection to Tara, Mother Tara. So my understanding, as with everything, has gone from superficial to deeper as the years have gone on. And we have a short time. I'm very aware. I can't go on and on and on today. I mean, you could talk for a month about Tara. I want to show you some of the books that are available in English in case you want to read further, okay? So this one is from the Library of Tibetan Works and Archives in Dharamsala. But the way the world today is, it's probably available on Amazon, The Origins of the Tara Tantra. And this is includes Taranatha wrote a text, very influential text, and includes all the stories of the past lives of Arya Tara. And then Khenpo Palden Sherab, A Smile, the Sun and Moon. This is the 21 Tara, so different 21 aspects of Tara. And with the corresponding verses, you could use this as a practice, but it goes into detail about each aspect of Tara. And unfortunately, Khenpo Palden Sherab is no longer with us. I think there's a tuku out there. But I was fortunate to receive many empowerments from him. This is interesting. I think it was Stephen Bayer's doctoral dissertation, I'm just guessing. Cult of Tara. Isn't going to focus. Stephen Bayer. I went and look how thick that is. And it includes a lot. It's basically about a Drukpa Kagyu enactment of a important ritual, with all very elaborate ritual for Tara, related to Tara. But in the process, he gives so much detail, interesting stories, and so forth about Tara. It was written in 1978. Stephen Bayer, I looked him up just now, and now he's doing shamanistic stuff with ayahuasca and so forth. Looks like Tara didn't make it into the current, but he's alive, kicking. Can you imagine? I know I'm going to be dead by the time. No, I don't know how old he actually is. So, Skillful Grace, Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche, and Tulshik Adu Rinpoche. And this is wonderful, particularly Adu Rinpoche's explanation of Tara, and this is in the Vajrayana Tantric tradition, mainly. Oh my gosh, it goes on. Tara's Enlightened Activity. This is another one by Khenpo Palden Sherab and his brother Khenpo Tsewang Dongyal. Tara's Enlightened Activity. It's got some overlap with the 21 Taras book in more detail. So if you were going to choose between the other book I showed you from them and this one, I would choose this one, more detail. Then that's it, actually, for a green Tara. Next week we're going to talk about white Tara. We can show you some other books. I don't want to bore you, but the fact is that I can barely scratch the surface today. So there's different ways of relating to the story of Tara and who she is. Tara, the practice of Tara was from India. It first arrived in Tibet between 755 AD and 797, with a short text that came in that's definitely in a collection that arrived then from India into Tibet. But it really became widespread after the arrival of Atisha, a great scholar practitioner who was very influential in the 11th century. And then it really, after that, and particularly at the time, he didn't promulgate it a lot, but some of the texts he brought became very important practices in 3 of the lineages of Tibetan Buddhism. So in one way of looking at it, Tara has a kind of biography that runs over many lifetimes. And it's a story of a liberation in the female body. And you might think, oh, that's normal. Of course, women can become liberated, they can become awakened. But that was not always a given. In the early Buddhist teachings, really, women were considered inferior practitioners, and you want to pray to be reborn in the body in a male body, so that you could really attain enlightenment. I know it's hard to hear. So, but when in the Mahayana tradition later on, according to the linear history later on, but according to the lineage history, it's the same time. Princess many a billion years ago, more than a billion years ago. I know life on Earth was before life on Earth. named Yeshe Dawa, Wisdom Moon, made a vow. Some monk came up to her and said, "Too bad, you have potential, but because you're female, you really can't attain enlightenment. And so you should make an intention to be reborn as a man next time around. Then maybe you can do something." And she said, famously, "Oh, then I'm going to make a vow that I'm always going to incarnate in the form of a female, and for always until the awakening in the Buddhist world." Amazing and very inspiring, for Western women who and Eastern women who needed that to really feel fully engaged. And why engage with a practice if you're considered inferior? That's not very appealing, is it? So then there's an elaborate long story told about how she took rebirth in lifetime after lifetime over eons, each time perfecting her practice more and more, becoming more powerful. And each time you'd be born in a different place, a different time, and have a different personal story, and then become liberated onto the bodhisattva levels, and then be given a new name and take on a new sort of activity to benefit beings, and a new kind of vow, we call it, to help beings. So, for example, after she took this first vow, she meditated for a billion plus 1,000 years, and it was in a samadhi called Saving All Beings. My samadhis don't have names, but in the Mahayana Sutras, there's special names for the kind of samadhi or in-depth meditation that one does according to your accomplishment. And of course, I don't have any accomplishments, so there's no name given to it. So she engaged in this. Her meditation then became called Saving All Beings. Saving all beings. And she developed the capacity to sort of psychically rescue, a billion or more beings every day before breakfast. From, by rescue, I mean liberate or help them. It's unclear, the terminology. Really be of benefit to that many beings just by the power of her meditation. And then after dinner, she'd do another billion beings, regular beings. And her new name became Tara the Savioress. And her meditation, in her next life, in a different era, she took a vow to protect all beings from harm, all sentient beings from harm. That was her. She was refining her intention. And this is where we're getting into the green Tara area specialty. And all sentient beings, all living beings in all 10 directions, that means in every direction. And her new name became Tara the Savioress. Droma, right? And her meditation was called Defeating All Maras. That means all the forces, evil forces impeding awakening. And she actually benefit those evil beings every day, like 10 billion now, more Maras, or beings who can lead other beings, our swift savioress, rescuing beings. And then another era, in the area in which Avalokiteshvara emerged into the form we know as Chenrezig, the Bodhisattva of compassion. Two lights came and mixed and transformed. Lights of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas mixed, two different lights mixed and became transformed into Tara. And another way it's put is that Chenrezig, in his great compassion, 2 tears ran down, and 1 tear became green Tara, and 1 tear became white Tara. And what does that mean? Is that this is the activity, the female activity, female principle is focused on activity, enlightened activity for helping beings. So Chenrezig, embodies compassion, but the compassion activity flowing out from him is the Tara principle. Very beautiful. So the green aspect here relates to the karma family, which is another, again, activity. So green Tara is a central Tara of all the Taras, and that foot being out symbolizes, yes, her swiftness and saving beings from their fears. And there's 8 fears, really big ones, and then there's 16 lesser fears. And there's different levels of interpretation of those fears. So that's her job, is to be there instantly, to call us swifter than any other Buddha. If you cry out like that Lama Wangdo did, Aryatara, or a short prayer, or her mantra, she'll be there, boom, instantly. 8 great fears. Sometimes people, I'll quickly go through them. So on the outer level, it's water, drowning, thieves, lions, snakes, fire, spirits or flesh-eating demons, false imprisonment, and elephants. That's the outer level. Then on the inner level, water symbolizes attachment. Thieves symbolize wrong views. Lions symbolize pride. Snakes symbolize envy and jealousy. Fire symbolizes anger. Spirits, etc., represent doubt. The fear of false imprisonment represents greed or miserliness. The fear of elephants represents ignorance. So then there's 16 lesser fears that are actually a little bit redundant. Lions is one of them. But a lot of the sort of worldly fears that we have of ocean waves, demons, leprosy, poverty, political oppression, showers of meteorites, you name it. So everything. Basically, Taras for everything you will help in any situation. And it helps with how does it help with the situation? So it becomes like there's one aspect where it's approached like magic, that she's a self-existing invisible force that magically solves your problem. And I want to give an example here. It's not specifically about Tara, but it gives you the sort of principle and the experience that people have with this kind of thing. In addition, Lama Wangdo's situation, here's a more kind of graphic one. Again, a ravine. In Bhutan, there's one road that goes all the way across the country, most of the way across the country, and it's very dangerous. And somebody, just like a week before I visited there in 2016, or very close beforehand, a car had gone off the side, and I think the parents, I don't remember the story exactly, but I think that the parents had been killed, and a little girl was left there all alone in the bottom of a steep ravine. And she didn't know what to do, and then a monk came up and said, well, you need to spend the night here and then work your way up. I'll lead you up in the morning. And she didn't know where he came from. She was, I don't know, I was told she was like 8 or 9 maybe. And he, I think he protected her during the night and stayed with her. and then led her up the ravine side up to the road. And it was in the morning. And then just as she got to the top, she turned around, looked back, and for the monk, and he was gone. Didn't that give you chills? So he was nowhere. So this is the kind of experience what people of faith have. Your whole perception of reality shifts. It doesn't mean you're going crazy. Or maybe our perceptions now are crazy. And so this really happened very recently, to the time that I was there. And this is, not weird in the Himalayan areas to have this kind of experience, manifestations coming. So that kind of thing can happen. And I don't know whether for us, I think for those of us who really develop faith in Tara and practice her a lot, that could happen to us. But for many of us, Tara is an internal practice where we ourselves are trying to blossom our qualities. What is the main quality of all the Taras? This is love and compassion, and the realization of emptiness. Practicing Tara all your life, which many people do. Many of the great scholars, for example, of Tibet were Tara practitioners mainly. For monks, it's a very important practice, and nuns. Whether you're practicing it all your life or not explicitly, when a quality comes forward, like you start, when you open up Twitter, the first thing that comes into your mind is, I love all of you. I love all of you. This thought, that's the Tara. That's Tara in here. And this kind of quality blossoms from all Dharma practice. People who specialize in the practice will say our mother Tara. This is a way of putting it. Motherly compassion, like all sentient beings are her children. There's an equality wisdom there too. So this is an important quality that perhaps comes forward quicker. I don't know, because I haven't been mainly a Tara practitioner, although I practice some of her aspects. Maybe earlier, maybe I would have gotten that earlier. So instead of opening up Twitter and saying, where are those gosh darn Republicans today, what are they up to? And posting something snarky. Or, what are those liberals, horrible, maybe I can really get them today. Every Black Tara loving all of her children and having even if they see that they have to block one of the children to prevent them from doing harm on the internet and so forth, But it all comes from a place of love, naturally, in an uncontrived way. That will come up over time with Dharma practice. So if it doesn't happening already, it may be for you a lot faster than for me. It will. Isn't that amazing? And in this world, you think, when you think about enlightenment, you may have all kinds of images. I don't know what yours are, but maybe mine were more like trippy. And before I started out, like, performing miracles flying through the air, psychic powers like Aryatara's practice, manifesting multiple bodies everywhere to help sentient beings. These things are heard of or like mentioned in the literature. But how much more a miracle these days to be able to look at Twitter and not have even an iota of hatred. To look at CNN or Breitbart and feel nothing but compassion and love. That's a miracle. And so I value those things much more than cities, so-called, these days. So um, let's sing a little bit to Tara. You can picture her in front. I'll bring up a picture again. This is a tanka from my house. I brightened it up a little bit. Oh, that's how you do it. Put it in front of my face. And let's sing. Just visualize her in the sky in front of your face. That means in this is space in front of you. Her two arms, her left arm is holding, hand is holding an upala flower, and her right hand is open there on her knee, adorned with silks and jewels. Very beautiful. I'm tare tu tare, tore so. Om 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 tare tu tare, tore so. And light pours out on every color and touches every sentient being, bringing them, waking them up, liberating them. Thank you, Mother Tara. Thank you to the folks that are here today. I love all of you. Try saying that this week when you're watching the news or whenever it comes up for you. Say, I love all of you. I love all of you. And you'll be Mother Tara. I'll see you next week. We're going to talk about white Tara and some more about the Tara principle in general. Bye now.